technologies. Participants will experience the full scope of Ghana's Horticulture Expo. Your Excellency, the President, the Honorable Chief of Staff, honorable members, distinguished guests, the horticultural sector holds immense promise, and as a driver of economic diversification, job creation, and foreign exchange earnings, Your Excellency, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority is collaborating with the Federation of Association of Ghanaian Exporters and other stakeholders to roll out the Youth in Export program, targeting mainly the youth in communities across the country, thereby reducing streetism in the Ghanaian economy. Yet, this potential can only be fully realized through and development partners. I am pleased to note that several partnerships will be formalized during this Expo, making a new era in the sector's growth. Mr. Chairman, I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt appreciation to collaborators and indeed our stakeholders for their support and interest in the Horti Expo 2025. It is my expectation that exhibitors and all the key stakeholders herein gathered will take full advantage of this three-day event to maximize the benefits for all. Thank you for your kind attention.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kojo Kwarteng Arthur, Chief Executive Officer of GEPA. Next on our agenda will be a presentation on global horticulture trends. But before that, I would like to acknowledge the kind organizations that have supported FAGE in making this Horticulture Expo a reality. I'd like to acknowledge
the BEC that has started across the country. We want to quickly go to Cape Coast, where Kingsley is reporting that in Cape Coast about...
the presentation on global horticulture trends. Please put your hands together for Mr. Kojo.
And yes, sir, me Jimmy the president too. I'm comedy in star.
Sound. First time comedy.
Me comedy in star pa uba. Me an am de cast man you cast president say. Na me trust no pa ba why so humble. E hwe me car e class bi o de me. Can I Japan? Me am atomi Rolls-Royce. Me fan control
Strategy and Management Consultant Practice headquartered in Ghana. It's a real privilege to be given the stage to make this presentation, and I'll try to make it pretty quick. The original theme that I was asked to speak to was global horticultural trends and how Ghana can take advantage. But in light of His Excellency's bold vision for our country, I decided to reframe the theme to resetting Ghana's horticulture for global opportunities. So the theme will be slightly different, but I'm speaking to the same issues. I hope that the slides are moving and you can follow. So from a global standpoint, there are really four main trends to look out for now as far as horticulture is concerned. The first one is that the market is really, really looking out for healthy organic products. So that's a big deal now. Retailers are chasing these because apart from they're being healthier, they also command higher premiums on the market. So that's a big trend now. The second one is that buyers are emphasizing traceability and certification. And this used to be a market, entry barrier, but it has now become a selling point. So if you can show that your product is traceable all the way from the farm to the shelves, that's a selling point. You command more premium. The third one is carbon intensity of production. So increasingly across the globe, global markets are putting a lot of emphasis on low carbon production. And again, the advantage here is that if you can do that, you're able to attract sustainable financing. So again, it used to be a convenient thing that some producers used to do, but now it comes with this additional advantage. The fourth big trend is what we call ready-to-eat value addition. So you can produce the whole raw fruit and export, but now buyers are prioritizing convenience. So products that have had a lot of value addition, especially those that have been pre-packaged for ready-to-eat, whether it's puree or cut slice of fruits, these are beginning, if you look at the market trends, these are beginning to command more demand because people, buyers, consumers are looking for greater convenience. So, in trying to take advantage of global opportunities, this should be a backdrop for us. Now, there's a slide on the screen that shows some of our top horticultural exports over the past 5 years. And you'll see products here that are not your typical horticulture, but they are horticultural crops. Now, we're doing really well, but if you pay particular attention to this chart, what it tells us is that our exports have somewhat flatlined. So if you look at the trends, we're not necessarily declining. We're still growing in many of these areas. But we are flatlining because if you see the trend line, we're either stagnating in some areas, we're growing marginally in some areas where we could probably be quadrupling output and exports. We're not necessarily doing that. So this is a cautionary tale. We exist in a competitive global environment, and with demand going up, some of you may meets 50%.
Je déteste ce produit. Arrêtez ça.
Mais l'échantillon était presque gratuit.
Oui, et ça a marché. Beaucoup trop bien.
Quel est le problème alors?
Complexe, je soulève une voiture. Ma femme dit,
Tu es toujours à moi.
complexe, une dynamite. Elle dit, en fait, tu es.
It's because they produce 12 months a year, 24/7. This is a 24-hour farm. That's the only reason they are able to do this. In the case of Ghana, as I did mention initially, our challenges are smallholderism, and thus farmers and investors who are trying to go large scale often run into a lot of challenges. So, what are the lessons we can pick from the likes of South Africa in terms of how they coordinate policy, capital provision, and industry innovation to push our industry forward? There are a couple of case studies. I will skip this because we don't have a lot of time. Next slide. Next slide. So, the real challenges of our sector, if you look at irrigation, for example, only 3% of arable land in Ghana is irrigated. We know of all the challenges with access to land. We know of the challenges with access to capital. Non-performing ratios in our banking sector for agri sector tend to be pretty high. So our banks don't like lending to our agricultural sector. But how do we take advantage of global opportunities when agri is supposed to be a backbone of our economy, and we can't provide the capital that our sector needs? So I'm going to make 3 proposals across each of the 3 pillars: policy, capital, and industry. What we can do to take advantage of global opportunities. The first one, on the policy front, I think that there might be a need to set up a dedicated fund for the sector. And one way we could fund it is to use levies that are collected on agri imports. Not inputs, but agri products that are imported into the country. And we may not need to introduce new levies, because there are levies that are being collected already on many of the food products and agri products that are imported. We might want to earmark some of these revenues into a dedicated agricultural fund, which can be used to support the sector. The second one is that we've got crop hubs all over the country that produce horticultural crops. There might be a need for us to, whether through legislation or policy, now declare them as formal special horticultural economic zones. And with that would come a lot of shared infrastructure and incentives. In the Krubo areas, we know there's a mango hub. In the Paluga areas, we know there's a tomato hub. And there are many similar hubs that are emerging that are not necessarily yet that mature. But if we can dedicate these as horticultural special economic zones and provide all the shared infrastructure, transportation, affordable power, pack houses and cold chain, irrigation support, we can trigger a transformation in the sector. We can transform the sector. And if we link this to the 24-hour economy program, then it's even better. My brother Davies gave a very vivid picture of what a 24-hour economy could look like in the horticultural sector. So this is a flagship that I believe the government is already thinking about, and it would be great for us to move full scale. And the capital provision, I think that there might be a need for a joint intervention by GESAL, DBG, Exim Bank, and the Association of Banks. The whole idea is that GESAL and a couple of banks have managed to pilot low-risk agricultural lending. But the lessons are not being necessarily shared across the sector. So while NPLs in the typical banking sector